Welcome. Okay, thank you. Thank you for recording. So welcome everyone to MAISS Amazon panel. Thank you everyone for coming today, and thank you all the panelists for joining us today. So right now we're gonna go over the agenda for today. We're gonna start off by the introduction. So for the introduction, all the panelists will be introduce themselves, and we're gonna move forward with the panel discussion where we'll be going over different questions that we prepare for the panelists. And after that, we're gonna have a breakout room portion where all panelists will be in a separate room and everyone has a chance to go and join the room. It's gonna be about 20 minutes. If you want to switch room at any time, feel free. And if you wanna stay at the room, feel free as well. And after that, everyone will come back to the main room and we're gonna have a raffle and the winner will win a 25 Amazon gift card and we're gonna close off the event. Yeah. So now I'm gonna pass it on to Ryan.
Hi guys, I'll give a brief intro because our panelists will introduce themselves, but these are some super cool people, very accomplished, all UCI alumni. So we have Kurt over here, we have Rosanna, and then we have Kevin. I'm sure they'll talk about all their own roles individually, but yeah, I mean, just to start off, we're gonna have each panelist introduce yourself by saying your name, your role at Amazon, what year you graduated from UCI, and any kind of fun fact you want to. So we can start with Kurt, but take it away.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Ryan. Hi, everyone. I work as a data engineer for Prime Video at Amazon. And I maybe about 6.5 or 7 months ago now, in London. I graduated from UCI in 2014 as a BIM major. And a fun fact is that I've lived now in, well, the US, of course, in Germany for about 3 years, and then now in London for about 7 or 8 months.
Rosanna, you can go ahead.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is, I go by Rez now. That's kind of my fun fact. I'll start with that. I get called by many different versions of my name because I don't actually know how to pronounce it. So I just go by Rez, especially when I joined Amazon. I started to meet a lot of people and network a lot, and just going by Rez made it short and sweet. So everybody can call me Rez later on in the breakout room, if anything. I graduated UCI in 2019, so it's only been about 2 years now. I started with Amazon right afterward as a college hire, and I actually started out in operations, so I wasn't in the PM role before. I started the PM role about a month ago now, and now I get to work virtually, so that's nice. And I think we'll kind of touch base later on how I kind of transitioned from operations into the PM role. I graduated with a business economics major with a minor in management, so that kind of aligned with ops.
Hi, everyone, my name is Kevin. I am currently working at Amazon as a software engineer for specifically Amazon Kids. Been here for about a year now, and I graduated from UCI for 2020, and I was a new grad hire. Fun fact, during my first couple of months at Amazon, I managed to accidentally knock out Amazon Kids services for Japan for about 30 minutes. So that caused a step 2 everywhere. So that was fun.
At least it wasn't a sub 1.
Okay, so thank you everyone for introducing yourself. So right now we're gonna move on to the discussion portion. So the first question for everyone is that, what is your day-to-day work life look like at Amazon? And anyone feel free to start.
Yeah, I guess I can start then. For me, as just to reiterate, so I am a data engineer for Prime Video at Amazon, and my team specifically is a data provider for all of Prime Video, like globally. And so We maintain a lot of the data pipelines for all of the different types of data that we have within Prime Video. And pretty much on a day-to-day basis, I write a lot of SQL for, on Amazon Redshift, and modifying SQL scripts, which transforms data like in our pipelines, or digging into any potential issues that we might have with our data that maybe our downstream consumers might bring up to us. Yeah, so I think that's a general overview of what I do on a day-to-day basis.
So next, so my day-to-day kind of touches base on, well, I need to start off. I'm a senior PM for AMZL fleet. So that's going to be all of the vehicles that deliver to your doorstep, those Prime vans. I manage a region's worth of those vans, so about 3,000 a day, making sure that they're in compliance with our Department of Transportation, that the drivers are safe out on road, and as well as understanding the new tech that comes out with fleet. And then Amazon's also pledging to go full electric. So that's another project that the Irvine team, which I'm involved with, is going to be pushing out too. So that's going to be a big push from our new stations that launch, is to get all of those electric vehicles up and running by 2023.
So my day-to-day usually include, so for context, I work for Amazon Kids, which is basically a kind of a service for Amazon users, and kind of a sense, think of like Netflix kids profiles, but for Amazon stuff. So we distribute apps, ebooks, videos, everything along the source to kind of, as a subscription service, to kind of make sure that your kids are entertained and learning throughout their development phase. So my team specifically works in the metadata department. We house and manage all the metadata contained within Amazon Kids, just to make sure everything is vetted, making sure that the information is getting to the right places, and just making sure that the service itself does not catch fire. So my day-to-day usually is in the morning, I would work on a bunch of meetings, and then during the afternoon and stuff like that, I would work on either improving new features on Amazon Kids or just maintaining structures to make sure, again, things don't catch on fire.
Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing that with us. So we're going to move on to the second question, which is, what is the most challenging part and the most favorite part of your role?
I guess I can, oh, sorry, go for it.
Okay, sorry. You'll go first next time. That's always the situation with these things, huh? The most challenging part about my current role is my switch over from operations, going from a very just do it approach, getting stuff done, getting answers into our support partners team, to turning into the support partner team, and understanding a lot of the data, knowing more Excel, looking at a bunch of numbers, pushing out programs and writing more documents in that aspect, rather than just kind of doing, has been the biggest change. And especially with Amazon too, the approach is very you just learn by doing, and getting thrown into the fire is really how I've always approached my roles. Rather than kind of shadowing a mentor for a really long time, I just kind of like to do everything and learn as I go. So understanding who to escalate what to, and kind of delegating tasks down now to operations team has been my biggest opportunity, I guess I would say, and my struggle with my current role. But that's also my favorite part about the role, is that I get to learn a new business function. I get to translate more of my skills into something that I want to eventually be, which was a program manager. I think Amazon definitely gives a lot of opportunity for us to be able to switch over. and get those opportunities while I was in operations, I expressed my concern of wanting to eventually move over to the PM roles. And my boss at that time, my manager, he really took that into account and gave me a lot of projects that would translate over to when I interviewed for the senior PM role, and kind of sold myself to the regional fleet team.
I can go next. The most challenging part about my day-to-day would probably be communication. So for reference sake, usually engineers would kind of be in the same office so that we could, like, in a sense, if you have a question, you could literally just walk up to other engineers' table and just ask them the question. But with work from home, it's getting a little bit more difficult because I would have to reach out to them through Slack or Chime. And sometimes it takes a while for engineers to respond back. And being as the metadata team, I am in contact with multiple other teams because since we are, in a sense, the backbone of Amazon Kids, everything goes through us. Sometimes reaching out to other engineers or other managers through other teams can kind of be big trouble, kind of troublesome. But in the fact that I work for, like, kind of in the center of all of Amazon Kids, my favorite part about working is definitely just being part of, or just basically improving Amazon Kids structure with new features launched every single time. I really do enjoy launches just because it's kind of, in a sense, when you do launch something, especially if it's a solo project, you have the culmination of all your hard work over the last couple of months. You get to see tangible results, and it's a very gratifying feeling. And it's definitely something that I look forward to every single time I start a new project.
Yeah, from my side, yeah, I would say for me, the most challenging part of my role and also my are pretty intertwined. My team as a data provider deals with tons of different types of data, different data sets, data pipelines, and we also provide data to hundreds of different teams within Amazon. And so I guess my favorite part is, having access to all of that data and being able to, learn about these different data sets and how it's being used by different teams. But at the same time, it presents quite a challenge because, whenever our downstream teams, have issues with the data sets or, have very specific use cases, there's also a lot of requests that come our way. And sometimes it can get quite hectic, especially if there's some issue that we had caused, which could, create issues for potentially hundreds of teams downstream from us. So that can be challenging to sort out under pressure sometimes.
Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing about your most challenging and most favorite part of your role. And now I'm going to pass it on to Ryan to ask you more questions.
Yeah, I think your guys' answers also just really impresses me on how big of a company Amazon is, whether it's like, Kurt talking about how there's so many teams that use your product, or Kevin, I'm sure like Amazon Kids has so many users. I think the scale of Amazon is just crazy. So that's super cool to hear. Now our questions are going to be a little more targeted toward individual panelists. So first one is for Rizana. So coming from kind of like a fairly like non-technical background, like majoring in business, how were you able to like enter this like tech company and like do so well? Like, did you have any tips, like strategies for learning, or like how was that experience for you?
Yeah, so definitely coming from business economics and management, there was no tech classes that I took, or nothing tech at all, even until I got into operations. So even operations, it was not tech related whatsoever. It was more so the support partners would delegate down the new tech that's coming out, and just kind of the high level approach of like how to approach it, how to give it to the drivers, how the vans will be utilized in regards to the new technology. And so how I found interest in that. I loved the new technology. I started off at a fulfillment center that was all robotics. And that's where I really sparked my interest in more tech related roles, or how I could get more involved with that. And I wasn't shy in asking my senior leader, so my skip level manager, to kind of host an event for some regional people for the Amazon robotics team, and bring them to our site to kind of look at our best practices and things like that. And when I brought them over, I was able to network with them and get a better understanding of exactly what they do for tech, right? It's not like yes, we do use Excel, but we don't use SQL. We do like pivot tables, VLOOKUPs, and like macros for the most part. But it's like macros is like the extent of my tech Excel knowledge. Being in the program manager role, it's more so understanding the tech that say like the data engineers or the engineers themselves, they build out for us. We understand that tech and we bring that to our operations teams, our drivers, our third-party companies, things like that. So when I came to the AMZL, which is the delivery station side of things, I still did very much have that interest in going into PM and learning more about the tech rather than the day-to-day doing. And not gonna lie, everybody working from home through COVID was so enticing. So it kind of just pushed me a little more to reach out. And so I found the regional fleet team. Again, I networked heavily with the skip level manager there, understood what they wanted out of somebody who would come from a place that had like no prior knowledge of their tech. I worked with the vans, that's about it. And so I started to do projects at my site that could transfer over in my interview of like how I pushed these certain projects out. Even though it wasn't van related, it was still me pushing a project out. How successful was that program? There was one that was a metric that the fleet team did track on that they did share over to our operations team. And so I focused heavily on that. I focused heavily on driving that metric and having success from my station. And that metric really kind of ties in my operations experience with how I can provide value to the regional fleet team. So really, if you don't have any experience in anything and you're trying to pivot over, that's how I'd suggest to do it, is really understanding where you're trying to pivot to and how you can get skills in your current role that can transfer over as much as possible. Seeing the parallels, really.
Yeah, thanks for the answer. I think PM especially is a very popular position that a lot of students, a lot of new guys are interested in pivoting to. So thank you for giving all those like specifics. I think that's a very cool roadmap that maybe like someone here could follow. But yeah, thanks for that. Next one is for Kevin. So kind of on the flip side, you know, the thing you studied in school hopefully is useful on your job. So going off of that, are there any classes, lessons, or concepts you learned in school that are like directly applicable now, like in your job at Amazon?
Yeah, so one of my favorite classes at UCI wasn't actually a CS class. It was an informatics class. I don't remember the class code, but basically the idea was the class was talking about how technology plays a role in our society. So it goes in depth about how data management is occurring at a lot of different companies. And I always thought ICS 3, oh no, it was an informatics class specifically. I think it was one of the upper div informatics classes, but talking about the role of technology in society is definitely a very interesting topic to me, especially now that I'm working in Amazon Kids. So in a sense, I'm working with kids' data as well as their parents' data. So just knowing about how data goes through and runs or operates inside our systems is definitely contrasting really well with the lessons I learned in the informatics class, just knowing that in a sense, at every given moment, companies are kind of building in a sense, like a clone of your mind inside their systems through metadata. So just learning about that is extremely interesting. And then, yeah, I think another thing that definitely helped me grow as an engineer through UCI was definitely joining diverse clubs and organizations. So for example, one of the one of the main computer science organizations that I joined, even though it's technically not like fully geared towards computer scientists, would be Hack UCI. I definitely adore Hack UCI and the community over there. Just being able to get together, build projects within a short time span is definitely a very gratifying feeling when you actually complete the project. But I feel like most of it is actually just going around, talking to people, learning about their technology stacks, or just learning about what they're building and learning about what they do in their normal life outside of coding is definitely interesting. Just as a social environment, I think is a great way to kind of get to know people. And other organizations, I would say, like, if you're a CS major, you don't have to, in a sense, stay confined within the CS space. I definitely recommend branching out to other organizations, whether it be joining a, say, a cultural club, or joining like other organizations, maybe in like the business sector, like maybe fraternity, business fraternity. But those things are definitely not needed. I think just, in fact, just being not confined to a specific sector of the school is definitely the best way. Like, just go out, meet new people, because I feel like most of college is not just to study, it's mostly just to network and get to meet more people. And you never know, in the future, some of these people could help you land the next job, or just some of the people could become your next roommates if you move to another city, kind of thing.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. I think that point about expanding outside the ICS school, and even for our business majors here, expanding outside of Mirage, I think there's so many different kind of people on campus. And when you get into the real world, not everyone's going to be a CS major, not everyone's going to be a business admin major. So definitely explore and meet people while you can, because I think that's a really great part about college. And I'm glad you guys are hearing that advice from an alumni. So now, Kurt, coming back to you. So you were a business information management major, and as you hopefully know, that MAISS is kind of like for people majoring in that. So with your time in school, like, how did BIM play a role in, like, what kind of maybe roles you looked at, what kind of internships you got, and then later in the industry, did it ever like impact your career choices?
BIM, to me, I guess it kind of felt like sort of like a buffet of like and it offered a really good breadth of knowledge. I think in terms of, application to my career, I would say that's actually a pretty tough one, because I think that I didn't have as deep business knowledge as, for example, a biz admin or economics major, and I didn't have as deep technical knowledge as a CS major or CSE or informatics major. So I think for me, to be completely honest, like, to be where I am now, I think throughout my career, I actually once I graduated from UCI, I feel like I wasn't actually all that good technically, especially with like programming skills and things like that. But actually, I've become more technical over the years, like after graduating in my first or in successive positions. And I think for me, the key to that was really just continuing trying to like deepen my knowledge in different technical areas, and taking a bunch of online classes and things like that, to try to seek out a different type of role. Like when I was I started kind of in like tech consulting in a way, and then I was some courses like on that, and then once I figured out what data engineering was, then I really tried to dive deep into that. So I guess for me the real takeaway is just like continuing trying to commit yourself to improve even after getting out of UCI, because but I think you kind of run the risk of being a kind of a jack of all trades, master of none type of situation. And so I would really encourage you to dive deep on things and really try to deepen your knowledge in certain areas that you're thinking of working in.
Yeah, thanks, Kurt. I think it also goes to show that when you graduate, learning is not over. I mean, especially in the tech industry, all our panelists, I'm sure, have learned so many new skills like after graduation. So definitely, even if you're a CS major, even if you're a BIM major or business administration, life doesn't end once you get that degree. There's always going to be more things to learn. So thanks for sharing that, Kurt. And then Mickey, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. So before moving on to the breakout room, we would like to end this discussion with one last question, which is, can you guys please share any advice that will be helpful for our members?
Yeah, I could take that one first. So the advice I have is honestly just general advice about, I mean, because all of you, I'm sure you're going to be looking for internship time offers at some point, even if you do end up going to graduate school, but even after that. And so I would say just my advice is don't view, I mean, because you definitely will get rejected from, certain, a lot of your applications will get rejected, or you'll get rejected from interviews in the first round or the second round or the third round, whatever it is. And I would say just never view that as a personal failure or like a reflection of yourself. I guess the thing that I've learned after having a bunch of interviews is that it's honestly only like 40% maybe the skills that you bring to the table, and the rest of it is like luck and timing. And like as a personal anecdote, so last year in May, I had interviewed for a data engineering position with Facebook, and I was rejected or kicked out in the first phone screening round. And just 2 or 3 months later, that's when I got my offer as a data engineer for Amazon. So it's like, it just goes to show you that it's like, you could be the same person, but, get rejected for any number of reasons. And so, yeah, just don't take it personally. Don't view it as a reflection of yourself, because you're going to see a lot of your, friends and peers getting these amazing offers. And if you don't, like, it's nothing with you. You kind of just have to not give up, and eventually you'll get where you need to be.
I'll add some advice here as well, kind of just piggybacking off of what Kevin said earlier for reaching out and joining things outside of your major, right? Outside of your direct interest, really diversifies who you are as a person. One, in your personal growth, opening yourself up to different kinds of experiences, different people, and then also being able to maybe add some of that stuff to your resume will make you just a different person overall. And those interviewers, those recruiters might pick up on those little fun fact hobbies or clubs that you've joined, and seeing that you do just more than what like your job is, right? Like if they hire you, they might see you as a leader in other aspects, in other small things that that we have as a company, right? So make sure that you guys are learning your people skills in joining all of those different organizations. I think people skills drives a lot of promotion very, very heavily from what I've seen. I was promoted 3 times now in my 2.5 years, and a lot of that, when I ask my seniors what should I give as advice to the people who are asking me like how I did it, and they all said people skills. Like, you're a great people person, you know how to talk to people, you know how to engage with certain people, you know how to work with people, right? Like, you're going to be working with a lot of different people. There's going to be a lot of people who don't want to give you the answers that you need, right? You're going to have to see like, how do you get their buy-in in order for you to be able to complete your job. So maybe like the Strengths Finder, that book, if any of you guys know what that Strengths Finder book is, I think understanding like your strengths and kind of reading into that book and understanding that other people have different strengths and how you can navigate people in general, that's been very, very important in my role. And that's my advice to give to you guys.
My advice would be like, especially now that school is back in session, I'm assuming people are going back to classes in person. I think like throughout the entire time when you're recruiting for another company, like you will face a lot of rejections, but I would say my greatest advice is just to take care of yourself. Like sometimes it's worth it to, if you're just grinding lead code or just grinding behavioral questions like on and on, it's good to just take a break and kind of take your mind off of it, because when you do end up taking a break, you could come back to it with a fresher frame of mind. And from there, you could be able to answer more questions, come up with new solutions, or come up with better answers kind of thing. Just remember to be mindful of your mental health, your physical health, and everything along with it when you're recruiting. Just take care of yourself.
Yeah, thank you everyone for sharing like those like advice. So I think it's really important because right now it's also a recruiting season, and everyone, like most people here, are also transferring into like their full-time or maybe internship. So it's good to know from you guys like how is it and how can we gonna be able to like tackle this and also take care of ourselves. So now we're gonna move on to the breakout room. I already created the breakout room. So how it's gonna go is that I assign all the panelists in different room. So everyone feel free to join the room that you want. And we're gonna come back here around 11:55. So every like 7 minutes, I will send like a time like, oh, if you wanna change the room, feel free. But if you wanna stay, feel free to stay. So yeah, so I just open all the breakout room right now. And yeah, feel free to join the room. Let me see.